So what LifeSmarts has that they do online, and I know for anybody that's interested in being helping out as a coach or helping with a team, there is a lot of information online. If you just type in LifeSmarts, there is a whole LifeSmarts page that will pop up. Within that, there are a variety of calendars, not only from this year, but from previous years. The calendars have questions, and then they have answers also. And this is what we used a lot the last 2 years as study information. It's got different topic areas on it, and we just used it in order to study for our stuff. Also on the LifeSmarts page, there is Kahoot, there is Jeopardy. There's a lot of different resources on there to use to be able to help your team members study. Because what we tried to do the last 2 years, we didn't want it to get boring with the team members coming in and participating. So we tried to change things up. A couple meetings we did Kahoot, couple meetings we did Jeopardy. They deal a lot with laundry. So we dealt with all the different type of pictures. It dealt with what it would be like if you were supposed to have a low temp iron, high temp iron, and we did a lot of pictograms. That is something that nationals may use. We may not use it so much here on the state level, but at nationals, they do a lot of acronyms and they do a lot of pictograms. So those are some of the different ways that you can help members study. With the acronyms, there may be words like, what does FDIC stand for? What is BBB? Better Business Bureau. And they would want to make sure that they know what those different acronyms are. So one year they went ahead and they had, the first year we went out, they had pictograms where they had a picture on a card and then it had a word. You had to match the picture with the word, and that was part of a Speed Smarts, or that was part of one of the competitions that they did with their sister team activity at the national competition. They also deal with a lot of over-the-counter medicine safety. That is a big topic for LifeSmarts. How to protect your family, how to get rid of and dispose of medicine that may be out of date, how to make sure that you're providing a child's dose to a child versus an adult dose to a child. They also work with sun safety, putting sunscreen on, what type to use, when to apply it. And they're very big on safety within those two categories. Laundry, like I mentioned, was another big category because one of their big sponsors is Tide. And they work with Tide. You deal with surfactants, you deal with whether you should use cold water, whether you should use hot water, high temperature to dry your clothes, air dry your clothes, lay it flat to dry. Those are some of the different topic areas that they kind of cover in there. With LifeSmarts, it is kind of like a sport. It is a big commitment. Last year, our team members, we met once a week, every Friday, minus a couple times here and there, that holidays, those type of things. But it is a commitment that if you're going to be on a team, that you have to help your team members out, because you're only as strong as your weakest team member. So sometimes members have to study outside of, your weekly meeting that you may have. There's also resources with quizzes online that each member can sign up, and they can go in and do practice quizzes. That helps you study. But it is a commitment. So, you don't want to have somebody that's going to join and then only show up for like one meeting and then expect that, that they're going to be able to go on to the next level. So be prepared for that to, know that there is a time commitment associated with it. And we understand that not everybody's going to make every meeting and that not everybody's going to be available on a given night, but we're flexible and willing to work with that, obviously. Some of the other things that they do with LifeSmarts is they do a TikTok or an Instagram video. So whatever state winning team goes on to nationals, the team prior to them ever getting to nationals, several parts of the competition are completed prior to getting to nationals. There is a TikTok video that the kids will produce on either over-the-counter drug safety or on sun safety. and they have to come up with their own skit. It has a certain time frame. There's a rubric that they provide that you follow, different things that are included into that TikTok video and Instagram. And then they have to upload it. They have to share their hashtags or you know, the Instagram reel. That way they can judge it on the national level. There is also individual quizzes. So the 5 topic categories that I mentioned, what they do is, as a team, we study all topic categories together, but each person will then figure out what their strong suit is. Like, are they better with personal finance? Are they better with the questions for environmental? And whoever you feel is your strong member in those categories, that will be your one that would do their individual assessment based on that topic category. And there is a quiz, it's timed. We usually work with Ms. Jill here at the county office to go ahead and do that quiz because it has to be supervised. Everyone has to do it the same night. Sometimes nationals will pop in on a Zoom to make sure that everybody is doing stuff the way that they are supposed to, because it's kind of done on the honor program there. But everybody ends up with a topic category that will be their strong suit, but you know, everybody studies all topic categories across the board. And when they do the topic categories, for anyone that's coming in that may be a returning team member. For example, this year I have team members that are coming back. Whatever topic category they did last year, they cannot do this year. So they force it that each year, if you're in high school and you come back, you start off as a freshman and go all the way through to your senior year, you will never take the same individual assessment test any given year. They make it so that everybody has to learn a new topic area. That way somebody can't become like really, really strong and like blow it out of the water, you know, every single year in a row. So it makes it so that it's kind of even and everybody gets to participate. The way that they work that on nationals, if you have a 4-member team versus a 5-member team, if you only have 4 members on your team, obviously all four scores count and it is averaged. If you have a 5-member team, they will take the top 5 scores, and those then top 4 are averaged for your score going into the beginning part of nationals. And that's kind of how they work that. There is also within LifeSmarts, they have a t-shirt contest. This is their shirt that the team members came up with last year. Carter Bradley ended up coming up with the finalized design and came up with the color and went ahead and designed it. And it has a little Delaware on here for the shape of the L for LifeSmarts. And it has each of the pictures associated with the 5 different topic categories. And Carter did a phenomenal job on this shirt. We are very proud of these shirts, and our members got to wear them with pride out at nationals. When you are at nationals, there is what they call your sister team, meaning that you are paired with another team from another state that you do not know. And at nationals, you will participate with them in a sister team activity. And both teams will get whatever score you get as a group. This was their shirt that our sister teams had last year. And they try to pair teams up with like a team that's been there before or that has some experienced members with a brand new team that's never participated with LifeSmarts. And that's how they kind of help with teaching, kind of like 4-H has older members that help younger members. LifeSmarts is the same way. They have teams that have participated, help out teams that have never been there before, because it's definitely a learning curve. We figured that out our first year. Last year, we were a little bit more knowledgeable going into it, kind of knew what to expect. Our first year, we were kind of like fish out of water. We didn't know what to expect. We didn't know how the program ran. We didn't know what they meant by speed smart. You know, so it was definitely a learning process. Some of the different parts at nationals, there, like I mentioned, there will be a sister team activity. Last year they had a game that they played, and they had a card that they would like flip over. They read a question. They had to come up together as a team with what they thought the answer was, and it was timed. And they had to go through and answer the questions. Then they went through and they scored the questions to see how many points they got for their question. There's also buzzer matches. Within the buzzer matches, they are set up kind of Jeopardy style. You will have 4 team members on one side against 4 team members from another state on the other side. Within the room, there is a timekeeper. There is multiple judges. So like, for example, if they ask a question and they're not quite sure whether the answer given was a sufficient answer, they will turn to the panel of 3 or 4 judges that are in the room. And the panel of judges have a book that says, these are answers that we will accept. These are answers that we might not accept. And they look to them to say, do you accept that answer or not? And the judges have the final say on that scoring. But it is Jeopardy style. They have a couple different formats that they do. One is, it's like player 1 against player 1. They read the question, and then whichever player 1 versus player 1 buzzes in first gets the first opportunity to answer that question. We were very fortunate last year that we have a buzzer system. It's very similar to what they use out at nationals. And it's like a Jeopardy style handheld unit that you just push the button with your thumb when you want to ring in. Some of the other style questions that they had was, it was like a toss up. Anyone on your team could answer that question. And when the question was asked, whatever team rang in, if you gave the right answer, you then had a potential for another 1 to 2 or possibly even 3 questions to be asked. On some of those questions, you were allowed to confer as a group, but your team leader was the one that had to give the ultimate final answer. So each team will have a team leader, and those team leaders will be the ones on those type of questions that will give the proper answer or whatever answer the group came up with. On the other questions, you are not allowed to confer. There is a time. So sometimes as a strategy, you'll wait for that time. If you're really not sure what the answer is, you'll wait for that time to kind of tick down. And right before it runs out, you'll buzz in and give an answer. And who knows, it might be right, it might not be right. We had a couple of times last year where they buzzed in right at the last second, threw out an answer, and lo and behold, the answer was right. So you just never know. Don't doubt yourself. There was also at LifeSmarts, just kind of like 4-H for anybody that's been to National Congress and stuff, there's a pin swap. So last year we were very fortunate. We worked with the Delaware Tourism Office and different ones that donated pins, and we were able to take them out for a pin swap activity. And the kids have a lot of fun with that because they have their lanyards and they go around, they trade pins with all of the different states and really enjoy that. Like I mentioned earlier, there are definitely a lot of scholarship opportunities within LifeSmarts. They have different categories like identity theft, where there's a topic, you write an essay, submit your essay for potential of getting a scholarship. There's one on over-the-counter medicine safety, where you create a TikTok or an Instagram reel of your own, and then you have to submit it, and that is judged to see whether or not you have an opportunity for a scholarship. There are also scholarships that as a coach on the national level that you get to nominate a team member, a graduating senior. And then there's also a secondary scholarship that as a coach, you get to nominate a member that went above and beyond to learn and really lives that LifeSmarts and really does a lot to try to help out others with learning what LifeSmarts is about. So those are a couple of the things that LifeSmarts has to offer. As an alumni or as a graduating senior within LifeSmarts, they allow all of those members that were seniors that graduated that have done LifeSmarts, they are encouraged to come back as an alumni. And those alumni members can come back and help serve at nationals. Last year, all 3 of their team members that were alumni came back and helped at nationals out in San Diego, California. They were either timekeepers, they were room monitors, they helped out with Speed Smarts, and they thoroughly had what I believe was a fantastic time being able to participate with the members and being able to come back because they learned so much and appreciated the program that they wanted to be able to continue to come back. Our first year that we went to nationals, it was in Cincinnati, Ohio. Last year, we were in San Diego, California. And this coming year, it is going to be in Chicago, Illinois. The one great thing with LifeSmarts is they try to help out teams when it comes to funding. So if we have a state-winning team, the last 2 years, Discover Bank has sponsored our team to be able to go to nationals more or less expense-free. And if there was any additional funding, you know, Delaware 4-H and stuff helped. Last year, our Sussex leaders went ahead and helped by purchasing our team T-shirts for each of our team members. So we very much appreciated that and all of the sponsorship. And I know this year that Discover Bank is supposed to be merging with Capital One. They're hoping to be able to get Capital One to join in and be a sponsor this year. If not, their sponsor team is working on finding other people that will be willing to help promote Delaware 4-H and allow them to be able to go out to LifeSmarts. And the way that they also work it is if you have a state winning team, but you have another team that did exceptionally well that is not your state winning team, you can actually have more than one team go to nationals from your state. What they call Norton wild cards, and they also have just regular wild card slots that are opened, and members can apply, teams can apply for those positions and might still be able to go to nationals by applying for a wild card spot. So that's a little bit about that type of program. Again, I mentioned some of the sponsors. Amazon is a huge sponsor of LifeSmarts. Most of the kids last year, just by participating and making it to the national level, ended up with some form of a gift card from Amazon. Norton is another huge sponsor of the LifeSmarts program. If they have members of a team that have never been to LifeSmarts before, even potentially ones that are from like low-income schools and stuff, what they do is they try to help support and sponsor those teams to go to nationals if they qualify. Like I mentioned, Tide is another big sponsor. And for us here in this area, Discover Bank was a big sponsor, and we appreciate all that they do. So a little bit about some of the other things that they may have at LifeSmarts. They may have like a unscramble the word, could be a category that they could use within the Speed Smarts. Speed Smarts is something where they have tables set up around the room and they're like different stations. And what you do is you move from one station, you do an activity, you have a certain amount of time, you move to another station, there's an activity there, you participate with that, you move to another station. I, as a coach, have never seen that because coaches are not allowed in that room during Speed Smarts. So I can only go based on what the members say when they come back out, the team members, as to what all occurred within that Speed Smarts activities. But there's a variety of stuff that they can do. Like I say, they can have an acronym, like a page just full of acronyms, and you have to write in quickly what all of those acronyms stand for. Or like I mentioned, the unscramble the word. They may have words and you may have to unscramble them. So those are a couple of the different activities that they may have. Some of the questions that they could ask, just to kind of give you a little bit of a feel for the type of things that they may ask, would be to calculate the amount of income to be withheld for federal income tax. You complete which tax form, which is a W-4. There's also ones like raw cookie dough may contain this dangerous bacteria, sometimes found in uncooked eggs, which is salmonella. Another example would be children who are too tall to fit into a car restraint seat and too small to use a regular seatbelt may need a booster seat. And there's different, questions and answers. Those are a couple of different ones that they have, but there's a wide variety of study information online. There is a wide variety of quizzes online. We definitely encourage members to do that because as a coach, you can go in and see what questions they got right, what questions they got wrong. They also have a monthly quiz for your team, and you do not have to be the state winning team to participate. So let's just say, for example, Bridgeville Mustangs has a team, and Dublin Hill has a team, and Country Clovers has a team. You can go in and be able to still earn money and scholarships and stuff for your team members just by participating. Last year, Delaware went ahead and ended up receiving first place within 4-H with one of the monthly quizzes that they had. It's a time quiz. You go in as a team, you sit down, you answer all the questions, and then they score it. And the team ended up receiving a stipend that helped out with some of our travel expenses. There's also stipends that you can apply for. For example, last year, our team did a over-the-counter medicine presentation to people in the community. And by doing that presentation, they had a form that they had to fill out. What age bracket did you present your information to? What did you learn from the process? How did you work as a team? And when they did that, they filled out the form and they ended up receiving a stipend amount that also, once again, helped with the expenses that we had for nationals. So those are a couple of the things that they do. I would like to open it up to a couple of their alumni that attended last year. I'm going to start with Carter. Carter, can you explain what you enjoyed about LifeSmarts, what you did last year, and why you were excited to participate with the program, or give any insight for members that may want to do LifeSmarts this coming year?
Sure. So with me, I had participated 2 years ago. I participated at the state championship and did not win there. So then the year prior, the Country Clovers ended up being the only team at the state level who competed. So they got the automatic nod for the state of Delaware, and they only had 4 members. So Miss Rebecca reached out to me and said, "We only have 4 members. We're looking for a 5th. We know that you did this program last year. Would you be interested in joining up?" And I mean, I loved it. I'm always the type, like, I don't know. I kind of enjoyed the quiz bowl aspect of it. I thought it was a great opportunity for me to gain essential life knowledge, as well as just get a fun experience to go to a new place. And yeah, it really stuck out to me in that regard. The one thing I would say is that was a lot of information there, and there is a lot of variety that happens with LifeSmarts, but don't let that feel too overwhelming. It's still a amazing experience, and I would encourage it. It will make sense as time goes along, and I know that hearing everything in like a hour-long meeting and then feeling overwhelmed might discourage you from wanting to participate, but don't let that stop you. It's an amazing program, and I could not give any higher praise to it.
Very good. Thank you, Carter. Let's see, Brian, are you and Caitlin there? Can you also share your experience with LifeSmarts? I know that you and Caitlin attended last year as alumni members. Can you help share what you really enjoyed about LifeSmarts and what you enjoyed as an alumni member?
So we competed 2 years ago. It was our senior year of high school, so unfortunately we were only able to compete for 1 year, but we were able to be alumni, which was awesome. At the competitions, especially if you get to the national competition, you make a lot of fun connections. I remember bonding over, pin trading and, just talking to the other teams about how they got there and what they do in their own states. And it was just a lot of fun. Along with that, you get a lot of new opportunities that I hadn't been, across the country since I was really little. And I think Brian had never been quite that far across the country before. So it was a lot of fun to be able to go to, Cincinnati and San Diego and just be able to take in as many new opportunities as you can. Do you want to talk about Braille Effect?
Yeah, so like Carter mentioned and Miss Rebecca also mentioned, a lot of the things that you go over and the study material of what 4-H is quite like genuinely is stuff that you would use in your day-to-day life. Like it's not information that like you have to just memorize for the competition and then like you just forget it. Like no, like if you're able to create connection, kind of apply it, like okay, this is how I would use it in real life. Like it's genuinely really useful information. There were a lot of things that like were very like easy questions, but still I didn't know.
Yeah.
It was just an interesting fact. So in that aspect, that's why I really liked the program, or when I competed, really loved it. It was just the fact that you're learning and your study material is actual real life things that you would use. And I think like for high school students, that is a great opportunity, and then for middle school students, it's a great way to prepare for real life.
It's also just fun. I really had a lot of fun being able to compete in all of the different activities. I've done Avian Bowl and Consumer Bowl for quite a few years for 4-H. But this was just a whole nother level that, you know, they had all types of different competition areas. It wasn't just, you know, consumer rights and like personal finance. You know, you learn a little bit of everything. And then just being able to do the different activities, not just have, you know, a Jeopardy style, I found was just a lot of fun. And then this year when we went back as alumni, it was really cool to be able to see it from the, you know, the outside of watching all of these team members that had spent, you know, all year studying, be able to really come together and just compete and have fun with it.
I think to add on to the fun aspect of LifeSmarts is that on top of the competitions, when you go to nationals, on top of competing, there's also the fact that you get to bond with other people. So like with sister team activities, it's like, you know, you have to do a task, but it's a fun task. Like it's not a chore, it's not homework, it's something fun to bond with. You can create connections, get to kind of get an idea of like, you know, what life is like outside of Delaware. And you also get to have bonding moments with your team. You get to go to like the zoo or get to go to an amusement park or, you know, wherever the place is and whatever they have in the area, you get to enjoy that. So, you know, there's a competing aspect and you also get to enjoy the fact that, you know, you made it to this national competition. You're at this new place that you might have not been in before. Like last year when I went to San Diego, I've never been there. So I got to enjoy of what California is like.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Thank you to my alumni members that joined in tonight. I don't think that Eddie or Sophie are on that I see. So thank you to our alumni that are at college that joined our Zoom tonight to be able to help explain what LifeSmarts is about. And LifeSmarts isn't just 4-H programs. It is 4-H, it is BPA, it is school LifeSmarts groups. So it's a wide variety, but they also kind of help separate it, like sort of like 4-H is kind of like against 4-H and BPA is kind of like against, you know, BPA. And there's different programs that they offer each month. Like, for example, I've already started receiving information for LifeSmarts for this coming year. One of the things that we'll have to figure out is when we're going to do our state competition. I know in the past we kind of held it in March timeframe, which kind of doesn't give us a huge amount of time to prepare that state winning team for nationals. We're probably going to look at trying to work with Jill to figure out kind of when we're going to look at that. Most states don't do their state competition, we found out, until like January, February, March, because up till then, they're having county competitions. So like the big states like Hawaii and stuff, they're having county competitions during October, November, December. Then they figure out who all their counties are. Then they're going to have their state competition in, let's just say, January, February, to figure out who their state winning team is to go on to nationals. So we're going to kind of work to figure out when would be a good time frame to have the state competition. And we usually have one of the individuals that is associated with the East Coast with the National LifeSmarts that comes in and helps with running and emceeing that state competition. I'd like to open it up to any questions that anybody might have. I know we've gone over a lot of information tonight. I do want to say also, for those of you that are in school, a lot of the stuff that you're learning in school right now, especially the high school students, the stuff that you're learning in civics, the stuff that you're learning in social studies, the stuff that you're learning in science, a lot of that pertains to the questions that are associated with LifeSmarts. We found that the last couple of years, those that were seniors had the most knowledge because they had done so many different topic categories within school, you know, different layers of science and biology and computer science and stuff. And there was stuff that was on LifeSmarts that pertained to stuff that they had learned in school. So they knew that information a little bit faster, a little bit easier than like 9th graders that are just getting into some of those type of classes. So don't think that this is like stuff that you don't know, because it's stuff that you may know. It's stuff that you may have already learned in 4-H, like the different, you know, the My Plate. What are the different categories of the My Plate? You know, those type of things. So don't think that you're having to learn like everything brand new. A lot of the stuff is common knowledge that you already have. And the great thing about LifeSmarts, the stuff that you learn, you will use well into the future as an adult, as a college student. There is stuff that you will continue to use well into adulthood and beyond. There's even topic categories. Mr. Keith and I talked about this last year. There was stuff that we didn't even know the answers to. So we were also learning while we were there as coaches. We also were learning a lot of information as well. So I want to open it up. Is there anybody that has questions that I might be able to answer about LifeSmarts or the program in general?
I've answered some, just make sure I answered correctly.
All right, let's see.
That was fun.
Yes, so it is based on grade. They have to be in 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th grade. It is not based on age. It is based on what grade you were in regards for the competition. Nationals, yes, it is usually in April. Whereas nationals this year, yes, it is in Chicago. The LifeSmarts consider 6th grade as a middle school? Yes. It'll be 6th, 7th, and 8th grade is considered as middle school. 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade is considered as high school. They have talked about in the future potentially looking at college level, but they haven't made it to that yet. But they're trying to get the middle schoolers, that way it can be a feeder program into the high schools. So those are all great questions. Are there any other questions that anybody has that I might be able to answer tonight? And please feel free, like if you go, like tomorrow, next week, next month, if you have a question that comes up that you're about LifeSmarts, please feel free to reach out to Miss Jill or myself. I would probably recommend, if you have members that are interested, kind of let Jill know. That way we kind of know what type of numbers we're looking at. If you have a member or two in your club that's interested in participating, but you don't have 4 or 5, let us know. That way we can hopefully try to pair teams together. Or if we only have, let's just say, I don't know, 15 members in Sussex County that want to do it. We can do it as a county event, have members come in, they all study together. We can then have some type of quiz where it determines who's on what teams, and then kind of go from there. So there's a variety of different ways that we can go with this. Oh, you have another question? What is the deadline to set up a team? So last year, the deadline was by the state competition. And I would say that would probably kind of be the same, unless we, because I don't know how many teams we're going to have this year. If we find that there's, I don't know, 10 teams from each county that want to participate, then we may have to do something with the county level, type of thing before we move on to a state level. But as long as your teams are signed up by the state competition, that way they can be in the system. Now, I will also say that you want to have your teams formed before the 4-H deadline of April 1st, Ms. Jill, for signing up for 4-H.
They have to re-enroll by December.
Okay, so they have to re-enroll by December 1st, but what is the cutoff for new members? Is it April 1st?
There's no cutoff.
There is no cutoff. Okay, I thought they had to be enrolled by a certain time before the fair. Okay, so just want to make sure that if you have members that are non-4-H and they're coming in to join the LifeSmarts program, make sure that they get enrolled in 4-H. That way all of that information is in there. Let's see, how long are nationals? How long would it be? Usually it is about a 4 to 5 day program. Usually it's about 4 days. We usually fly out, and that night we usually have a banquet. We have our sister team activity. Usually there's 2 days of competition, and then usually the following day is the award ceremony, and then we end up flying back home most of the time that night. So it's usually approximately 4 days. Let me grab my phone and I can tell you the exact dates, because in case your kids are involved in BPA or robotics or something else that may conflict with a national competition, let me look and I can tell you the exact date. So this year's competition is going to be held again in Chicago, and the date is, I can find it. Should have already had this looked up for you. All right, I'll figure out what the date is and I'll get it to Jill. I'm not finding it quickly. I know that it is coming up the end of April. It's like last year, it was like April 18th through the 21st. It'll be approximately that same time for this coming year. I found it the other day, but I can't seem to find it now. Is there any other questions? Okay, somebody said they found a National LifeSmarts Varsity Championship will be held in Chicago, Illinois, April 24th through the 27th, 2025. So that is the date of when it will be out in Chicago. Are there any other questions that anybody has? Feel free to unmute and ask, or you can put it in the chat. And Ms. Jill is recording tonight's meeting. That way, if there's any members that you have that may want to listen in at another date where it didn't work tonight for them to be able to join in, please feel free to, Ms. Jill can send that out to everyone. And again, I would just recommend for you to stay in contact with Jill if you have members or clubs that are going to be interested in participating. One, that way I can offer my help to you to help you find study information, or so that we can figure out if we're going to be doing this as just a county or whether we're going to be doing it as clubs or mixing clubs. So feel free to keep in contact with her so that we can get the program up and running, because last year we started with training shortly after school started. So about any time is when you would start wanting to do practice sessions to get your team prepared with all the information before the state competition. And then Ms. Jill did ask, where can we access this recording? Ms. Jill's going to answer that question there.
I'm hoping that we get it uploaded to the website.
Okay.
Yeah, accessible to anybody.
Okay, Jill is hoping to get the recording put on the website so that it'll be accessible to anyone. Is there any other questions that anyone has? Is there anything else that our alumni would like to mention?
They go across the county line, like if they wanted to.
So they could probably, so Jill asked the question whether or not we could cross county lines in regards to forming a team. I don't foresee there being an issue with that. I know that we had discussed that idea last year with Mr. Doug, and I don't think that it's a problem with crossing county lines. Now, if we end up with a lot of members that want to participate, then they may kind of restrict it back to each county. I know that they were hoping to have counties like at least a team from Sussex, Kent, Newcastle be able to participate at the state level. But I don't foresee there really being an issue with being able to combine across county lines if you have members that want to participate. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, we're going to be representing Delaware 4-H when we go out. So it's anybody within the state of Delaware. Is there any other questions? All right, well, if anybody has anything else that they come up with after the fact, please let us know. Reach out to Jill. She knows how to get a hold of me via cell phone or email. Be happy to help out anyone that's interested in starting a team. But like I say, I appreciate everyone coming out tonight for tonight's Zoom and our alumni that came back to participate. I know you guys are busy with college, but I appreciate you coming out and joining our Zoom, and we'll look forward to seeing where LifeSmarts goes. It has a lot of opportunities. So thank you, Ms. Jill, for allowing us to be here tonight. And thank you to everyone for coming out tonight to participate with the interest meeting. Okay.